Welcome to the podcast recording of Middle East AI News, live for Thursday, August 8th, 2024, brought to you by On Demand, turbocharged AI product development and integration. You're listening to my discussion with Dr. Chris Cooper, CEO of Abu Dhabi-based AI company AIQ. We're talking about digital transformation in the energy sector, AIQ's pioneering suite of AI products for the industry, and its autonomous well control system, RoboWell.
Let's dive into today's topic. In today's Thursday Deep Dive, we're going to be talking about Abu Dhabi-based AI company AIQ, its pioneering work in the transformation of the energy sector, and RoboWell, the well control system that's being deployed by ADNOC across 300 onshore and offshore oil and gas wells this year. And today's show will touch on the story of AIQ, its shareholders and its vision, the AI innovation ecosystem in Abu Dhabi, AIQ's autonomous oil well management solution, RoboWell, plans to deploy AIQ's RoboWell across 300 oil and gas wells, AIQ's R&D and partnership with ADNOC, AIQ's future plans, and whatever else we've got time for. I'm going to be joined in a moment by Dr. Chris Cooper, CEO at AIQ. Dr. Chris Cooper joined AIQ as CEO last year and is guiding the company through its next phase of growth, taking its innovative product portfolio of AI solutions for the energy industry to market globally. He's also focused on strengthening existing partnerships for AIQ and forming new local and global alliances, collaborating with technology vendors, system integrators and platform partners. With more than 25 years of experience working in the technology sector across Europe, Middle East and Africa, Dr. Chris previously worked at cloud computing and virtualization vendor Citrix as Regional Director of Middle East and North Africa. Prior to that, he was General Manager at Lenovo's data center group for the Middle East, Turkey and Africa. He's also worked with HP, IBM, Seagate Technologies, and he holds a PhD in physics, electronics and materials science from the University of Dundee. So a warm welcome to Middle East AI News Live, Dr. Chris Cooper. Thanks very much for making the time to join us.
Thank you very much indeed, Carrington. And again, a warm welcome, morning, afternoon to those that are online here.
Looking forward to hearing all about RoboWell and how that all came about. Perhaps to start, we could just talk a little bit about AIQ and its core focus. Also, what is AIQ in terms of the entity and the shareholders and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. And again, the first question people tend to ask me is, what does AIQ stand for? It's about bringing AI and the IQ of people together. And AIQ was actually created basically to solve business challenges across the energy value chain, utilizing cutting-edge UAE-developed AI solutions to make operations in the industry more efficient, safer, and more sustainable, whilst at the same time supporting the achievement of the energy transition goals. Now, like every stool needs three legs, there's three key facets you need for an AI company. You need good quality data. So we're very fortunate that we have the benefit of 80 years worth of really quality operational data from ADNOC as our cornerstone client. Secondly, you need access to good quality infrastructure. So we've got access to global standard cloud and big data infrastructure. That comes through Group 42. And then thirdly, it's the people. We have access to really talented data scientists, software engineers, but the unique value proposition of AIQ over a lot of other AI companies is that we also have access to subject matter experts that come from the industry. That enables us to build not just database, but physics-based models so that we can provide extremely accurate solutions that mimic, real-time environments. And then if we look at the size of the company, who we are today, we were established roughly 3.5 years ago, just over, as a joint venture, as was mentioned, between ADNOC and Group 42 at the time. It really was thanks to the very forward-thinking leadership of those two organizations, recognizing, circa 4 years ago, that there was a massive opportunity that could be relished and developed and value driven out of leveraging AI across the energy sector. So, what have we done since then? We've filed 16 patents. We've won numerous awards. We've built close to 20 products that operate across different parts of the entire value chain now across the oil and gas industry. And we're 100% software as a service. I think just to give you a flavor of the value we've generated, last year alone, we were enabled, we supported ADNOC themselves in delivering $500 million of value across their value chain through the AI tools that we deployed in their environments. Back in May this year, Presight, a listed UAE company specializing in big data analytics and AI, they acquired a 51% stake in AIQ. That really has heralded a new era of execution, impactful AI solutions that are being developed now for the energy sector and beyond, and also across multiple geographies. The great news for us is that that transaction now has actually valued AIQ at circa $1.4 billion. So, many view us as very much a unicorn of the region in the AI space. So if we look at what that's meant in terms of stakeholders and so on, I've now got a new board. A new structure comprises 51% Presight, 49% ADNOC. The AIQ board is very, very high profile, as you might imagine. So the chairman is actually His Excellency Dr. Sultan Al Jaber, who's the Ministry of Industry and Advanced Technology and the ADNOC Managing Director and Group CEO. So he's obviously assumed the position of chairman. And as vice chairman, we have His Excellency Mansour Mansouri, who's a member of the Abu Dhabi Executive Council and also the chairman of the Abu Dhabi Health Board. So we have a very hard-hitting board, huge challenges, as you can imagine, being set on myself and the team, but we have incredible support as a result. So just to give you a flavor, I touched on there, up to 20 products we've developed, and there's a number of those that have been taken to market and have been talked about in the press recently. I'll just touch on just a very few of those. One of those is RoboWell. This is the world's first autonomous well control for gas-lifted wells. This enables self-adjustment to maximize production within specified operating conditions of the well. And then we've got AR360. That's another product that's built in conjunction with other partners. And that's a reservoir visualization and performance application that incorporates all subsurface data into a single integrated system, using both AI and automation to optimize the field development plan. So what does that actually do? It basically provides a 10 to 20% extension of the life of the active wells. Now, if you think of that from a production capacity, that's pretty phenomenal. At the same time, it drives between a 10 and 20% cost reduction in drilling with new infill wells, and it boosts oil recovery from water flooding by up to 10%, and then delivering 75% efficiency gain in the actual reservoir model reviews. So if you imagine how long it takes to actually do the field development planning, it's literally going from months to days. It also accelerates by a factor of 100 plus the understanding of the reservoir. Another one which is very close to our hearts is a product called Smart Eye. This is developed actually in conjunction with one of the operating companies of ADNOC at the time, and now is being deployed across others. And that was to improve the health and safety in industrial environments by using AI-enabled computer vision of the existing CCTV fields for intelligent monitoring, detection, and reporting of safety protocol violations and incidents. So giving preemptive information to the controllers. And then I won't go through all of them, but just one more. But again, this is very important in our today's environment around energy, emission. We have a product called Emission X. This is an AI-based emission monitoring and forecasting tool that takes data from hundreds of sensors and utilizes AI to forecast the emissions profiling of a facility for up to 5 years in advance. So that gives you lots of notice to understand where you should prioritize, where the investments go to improve on resolving and removing those emissions.
I'm sure that despite the size of the company and the incredible growth that it's been through the last few years, there's probably a lot of people outside the energy industry who are not perhaps very aware of what you've been doing and the breadth and depth of the product offering that you have. It'd be nice to drill in a little bit to RoboWell. Now, when a lot of people think of the oil and gas industry, they think of pipes and valves, very mechanical equipment. So can you tell us what RoboWell replaces?
Just to give you a flavor, so RoboWell is described, as I mentioned very briefly previously, but as I said, it's the first autonomous, and that's important, autonomous. So that means it doesn't require human intervention, well control system for gas lifted wells. So it enables the self-adjustment in real time to maximize production within specified operating conditions. So what it's doing, it's actually using cloud-based AI algorithms, and it reduces the need for workers to manually go and adjust those wells. So if you can think about that, what it's doing, you think about these wells are in difficult locations, both onshore and offshore, in remote locations. And what it does, it enhances the safety operation of those wells because, one, it improves efficiency. Secondly, it reduces the need to physically travel and do those physical interventions, which also in turn minimizes emissions. So in effect, it's reducing emissions at source because you're not sending people out on a daily basis to go and make those manual adjustments. So why is it a game changer? What does it actually mean for the energy industry? I'll give you some characteristics. So what it does, it actually drives up to 30% optimization in gas lift consumption. So that's the gas lift that's used to actually extract the oil from the ground. Now, think about this from a production capacity perspective. It increases the production capacity by anything up to 5% from the existing wells. At the same time, it reduces the cost of barrel. Whilst also being 100% AI driven, also it reduces the CO2 emissions, as I mentioned there, from health and safety and eradicating moving people backwards and forwards to these remote locations. And obviously underpinning that, focusing on the 100% health and safety record there. Just to be clear, we are literally, as AIQ, we are still scratching the surface. There's so much more we can and will be doing.
So something like RoboWell doesn't just save one man's time, presumably, because if with the remote locations, offshore, you need a team to go there, and then there has to be a specialist who looks at the well. You're reducing a huge amount of effort and manpower.
Absolutely, absolutely. Really underpins ADNOC's focus as well, is really driven, underpinning 100% HSE for focus, and that's health and safety as well as the environment. So that brings in the sustainability angle as well.
Absolutely huge. Tell us a little bit about the NASA field project that's been in the news recently.
So for those that aren't aware, NASA is actually an offshore oil field. So it's 130 kilometers northwest of Abu Dhabi, out in the Gulf there. And RoboWell was deployed there across the initial 10 wells at NASA, within the past few months. And our plan is then to further deploy that, not just at NASA, but others, to deploy it across up to 300 wells minimum by the end of this year, both onshore and offshore. We actually started deploying this tool, this AI tool, back last year, in fact, onshore. And now this is the first time we've been deploying it offshore. So it therefore allows the autonomous control of offshore locations from a safe environment onshore. So quite unique. And again, it is first of a kind. And as it gets deployed to more and more wells, there'll be more and more value, obviously, that will be generated for ADNOC.
Yes, and the benefits that you just mentioned, the reduction in emissions, the reduction in effort and manpower, and the safety aspects, that's times 300.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you arrive at use cases like RoboWell?
All of these opportunities come to us from our clients. And obviously, predominantly, this has been ADNOC, though we are talking now to external clients as well. If you look at the focus within ADNOC, there's been a huge mandate driven, in fact, by His Excellency Dr. Sultan Al Jaber, the group CEO, where he's now instrumental on becoming, as you mentioned earlier, the most AI-enabled energy company worldwide. So he's mandating everyone to focus on leveraging AI across the entire value chain. So what's now happening is the operating companies at every level now are coming forward with their ideas and concepts of where they believe AI can add value, to look at addressing the sustainability, the performance improvements, the safety challenges, and so on. And they're now coming to us and asking us then to help qualify what makes sense. And then from that, we're looking at prioritizing them. So AI and the energy sector really are becoming symbiotic in terms of forming this virtuous cycle whereby there's huge amounts of energy required, obviously, to support the processing power of AI. But at the same time, AI is actually driving lower cost and cleaner production of energy. So it's an interesting dichotomy there.
There's no equivalent to RoboWell out there, as far as I know, although I think there's people working on similar things. Why is it, do you think, that AIQ is the first to deliver on this?
A very fair and a very good question, by the way. So there are lots of organizations out there that are digitizing those environments. Okay, so if you imagine, in order for you to deliver an AI solution, you first of all need to have a digitized environment. So that means you need to have operational control electronically of the valves. At the same time, you need to have physical connectivity to those locations as well. So there are a number of entities that are providing the digitization, but providing that AI autonomous layer on top. We're the only ones that have actually deployed that globally today. And I say we've actually done that again in partnership. So this was actually built in conjunction, in partnership with Halliburton as one of the global system integrators and providers of multiple technologies in that space. But they partner with us because we developed the unique IP. And again, that IP has been generated, made in the Emirates. And at the same time, it's because we have access to ADNOC's crown jewels, its data, that we're able to build such accurate models. But again, remember, when we take this solution and look to apply it in another customer, we're taking the model, we're not taking ADNOC's data. So that's the unique value proposition here. So you're taking the solution, but not the data.
And presumably there's a huge opportunity to take this global and work with other oil companies around the globe.
Oh, for sure. I mean, even in June there, we signed a global iEnergy agreement with Halliburton around RoboWell as an example. But again, we must understand what was the rationale behind the change in shareholding. If you think about our international expansion plans, our relationship with Presight allows us to leverage markets in which they've already got presence. So our foreign expansion plans certainly intend to look at technology partnerships that we're forging locally and internationally. We recently participated in the Baku Energy Week. That was the World Energy Week Forum. And obviously they're gearing up for COP29 in November. And that really affirmed our ambitions to enter into new geographic markets and expand our customer base. This fall, we'll be attending other major global events, both in Europe and in the US, to really further enhance our efforts to connect with those international stakeholders and explore new opportunities.
Can you prioritize where might be next, or could it really be anywhere?
It could be anywhere, but obviously, look, when you look at the lower hanging fruit, again, think about Presight. They are a global big data analytics and AI company. They've already got establishments and engagements, and they've got a number of G2G, government-to-government relationships in a number of external organizations and countries. So we'll first be looking at tapping into those, but then also think about our relationships with the global SIs that we've now got agreements with, the likes of Halliburton. They want to take us into other locations, South America, Asia, and so on. The world really is our oyster. But again, we will be looking to partner and leverage those international relationships to take these solutions to market.
Exciting. You've got some very strong technology, you've got some IP that you produce that could be world leading. What's the competitive landscape look like out there? Is it getting busy, or do you expect it to get busy in the near future?
It is. And again, what you're seeing more and more now is that the focus on new IP that's being generated, it's not coming from the traditional model-based AI. It's now coming more and more from generative AI. So a lot of the solutions that we've fundamentally built to date have been very much on the more traditional model-based AI, whereas now we're expanding out and building new solutions with new LLMs focused on generative AI and unstructured data and so on. But yes, our patents to date cover a range of technologies that address quite unique challenges of the energy sector. Suffice to say, they range from computer-implemented methods and data processing device systems, and they really are first of a kind, computer vision models, and deep reinforced learning as well, DLR. At the same time, we're very much focused on leveraging deep AI and machine learning technology. And this very much is focused around subsurface in particular, optimizing drilling, production activities, and enabling smarter reservoir management. So there are lots of companies that are doing this, but what I'm saying to my team is there's no point in us building solutions that are already available commercial off the shelf. We are focusing on what we believe are unique value propositions that are not available today, but ultimately will deliver significant value to our customers.
Dr. Chris, you just touched on IP and developing technologies. And Abu Dhabi's become quite an exciting ecosystem for developing IP and artificial intelligence. Can you elaborate a bit more on your R&D?
Sure. I think I'd summarize it with how lucky are we? How lucky are we to be based in Abu Dhabi, to have shareholders, with the likes of ADNOC and Presight. Abu Dhabi, UAE. I mean, the first country to have a dedicated university focusing on AI, Mohammed bin Zayed University of AI. The first country to build a ministry focused on AI. So, we really are part of the national focus on AI, aiming for the UAE to be the AI hub globally by 2031. And if you look at, Abu Dhabi's strategic location and the world-class infrastructure that's made available, through all of the other entities in Abu Dhabi and the big focus on AI, that the city really does provide itself and lend itself for cutting-edge facilities, skilled talent that we're attracting now. And, there's a huge amount of technology and innovation going on within the Abu Dhabi ecosystem today. I mean, I can give you an example. I've recently been asked to participate in the Abu Dhabi Chamber of Commerce as a chair for the focus on AI. They've got a working group. Again, everyone's recognizing from all walks of life, there is such an opportunity around AI. And now is the time to really looking at just pulling all the right things together to leverage it.
Yeah, certainly in the last year, we've seen more IP developed in technology in the UAE probably than ever before. And the AI development that's taking place in Abu Dhabi's at the forefront of that, certainly. You've been with AIQ now since, I think, last autumn or so. What do you see changing or developing or growing in the Abu Dhabi AI ecosystem?
There's a huge amount of things changing. I mean, the focus on AI, we were developed 4 years ago, which really was forward-thinking leadership on behalf of both ADNOC and Group 42 at the time. But what I'm seeing more and more is that the AI ecosystem, there's much more of a collaborative approach. So whilst there's been separate entities that have been set up to focus in different areas, there's a very strong collaborative approach. And a lot of that is actually thanks to His Excellency, Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber, who's, as I mentioned, our chairman now, because under his remit, under his ecosystem, he's the chair of a lot of different entities. So, whether that be, for example, working with Mazda, whether that be working with Mohammed bin Zayed University of AI, all of these entities now coming together. We've had interesting dialogues with Emirates Development Bank. Again, he's the chairperson there. So we're very fortunate with that strong leadership that we're actually getting a great opportunity to look at forming some very strong collaborations and a network there that allows us to tap into some very strong resources and skills to really further and advance what we're doing with AI.
How many of these different organizations involved in AI and energy do you get to work with?
Honestly, if there was 8 days in the week, there wouldn't be enough days. The opportunity is honestly, it's immense. There's just no other way of putting it. And what I really relish, having been here in the UAE for nearly 16 years, the focus, the investments, just the attitude, it really is spot on. We've got a great opportunity here, a magnificent opportunity to leverage. And I have no doubts when the UAE decides to focus in an area, it leads from the front. We are not laggards here in the UAE. So I have every hope for the future for us.
I can only agree. I've been here some years myself. And the thing that I mention often to people that impresses me is the follow-up, because it's possible to get people to do a nice plan for you wherever you are in the world, but actually to implement that and to give that momentum and to keep putting more effort and resource behind that same plan to reach the goals, it doesn't happen everywhere. And you can see now before your eyes that things are moving day by day. You're being invested in day by day, followed up day by day, and the results are there for all to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's exciting. It really is exciting.
Something you said earlier interested me. I mean, all of it interested me, but something I found fascinating was that all of your products are in the cloud.
Indeed. Yeah, we are purely 100% software as a service. Shall I give you a bit of a flavor of what we're doing with some of the cloud initiatives?
First, I'd like just to talk about that strategy of being in the cloud, because again, the sort of legacy views of the oil and gas sector are that it's very security conscious. It's all behind closed doors. There's terabytes and terabytes of data, or now these days, maybe petabytes or exabytes, but
Yeah.
and nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what's there, and nobody knows what software or hardware they're using because it's all internal, on premise. And here you are saying that everything is in the cloud.
But let me temper that. It's in a dedicated tenant. So ADNOC's data is very safe and secure. As I mentioned earlier, now that's the crown jewels of ADNOC. That 80 years worth of data is very, very special to them, obviously. So no, we're actually in a dedicated tenant for ADNOC. So it is restricted, but we're using cloud technologies to do the testing, build the models, and then deploy. But for example, if you look at our Smart Eye solution, you're not using cloud systems to manage and monitor what's happening in real-time analytics at the edge. You're actually using edge compute there, but again, held in a very secure environment.
And you work with a number of different cloud companies. I think you mentioned Halliburton before. You have something in their landmark iEnergy Cloud. AWS Marketplace is something I've seen as well.
So, I mean, look, ultimately, from a delivery perspective, we want to be able to support multi-cloud. Okay, we don't want to be restricted and limited when we're working with clients. For example, outside a region, if they have a preference on a specific cloud, we want to be able to deliver multi-cloud. But as it stands at the moment, as you mentioned, through Landmark iEnergy Hybrid Cloud, we're including the suite of solutions that's accessible via Halliburton's Landmark through the iEnergy Hybrid Cloud, and that's available anywhere in the world. You touched on their AWS. So, AWS Marketplace and Well Insights, we've got the first product, in the marketplace. They're actually available on AWS Marketplace, a product called Well Insights. So we basically successfully passed the AWS Foundational Technical Review, and we're now an AWS certified partner. That underscores our commitment to deliver this high quality AI solutions that seamlessly integrate, within AWS services. And whilst that's in marketplace, ultimately our plan, as I said, is multi-cloud. So actually our development cloud is Microsoft. And that's for good reason, because the cloud services that we're leveraging from Group 42, Core 42 are actually Azure. So cloud services definitely have already been established, and they're instrumental in digital transformation of industrial sectors, and really centrally important to how we're looking at growing and developing widespread adoption of AI.
So you're definitely going to remain a cloud champion, if you like. Does this mirror what's going on elsewhere in the industry, or is this something slightly different?
I would say it does. Again, in some locations, still people are only interested in on-prem, but what you're finding is a lot of the global ISVs, partners and system integrators are now leveraging multi-cloud and the global hyperscalers, most definitely.
So this is an industry trend that the energy sector is going to be using cloud more like everybody else is.
Most definitely, because of the qualities of service they're able to deliver and the choice, again, depending on location where you are, whether it's a Google, Amazon, Microsoft or anything else, it's really about the quality of service they can deliver, whilst also delivering, as I mentioned for ourselves, we have a dedicated tenant. So the data is kept very secure. It's about sovereign cloud. So the data is kept in country.
And does that support your global expansion?
Yeah, it's very, very important, because if you think about depending where else we go next, in country X, they may have a different cloud that they're delivering against. So we need to make sure that our solutions are capable of being supported on those other clouds. So it's very important we keep an open, scalable platform that can be delivered multi-cloud.
Let's try and take a step back and look at the, which we've mentioned throughout this conversation, but let's take a step back and look at the energy sector and technology within the energy sector. Is it fair to say that transformation in the energy sector is picking up speed?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting, our group CEO and our chairman, coins this expression that AI is defining the new rate of change. The speed of change is phenomenal. We talk about energy being required for AI, and that's a fact. We hear about that a lot in the press. Huge amounts of energy being required to drive the data centers that are building these AI models. But at the same time, we talk about, and what we're doing is about leveraging AI for energy. Hydrocarbon fuels, still have a role in energy supply, but they need to be made cleaner and cheaper. And while renewable energy options are developed and are obviously being made the most cost effective, they're not able to substantiate those huge incremental energy requirements for AI today.
How will this impact energy production companies' competitiveness and ability to digitize?
AI has not just a role, but it has a very important role to play across the entire energy value chain, whether it's upstream, midstream, or downstream. We talk about automation, analysis, safety, forecasting. They're all made much more accurate with effectively utilizing AI. So it really does improve and accelerates the efficiency gains across the entire sector. So yeah, it's having a much more important role, and even in sustainability. Everyone is focusing on digitization, okay, because there's value that could be generated certainly from digitization, improving operations and efficiencies. But once you take it to the autonomous level, then the value increments phenomenally. I can't give you the internal numbers that we've calculated inside ADNOC, but I can tell you that when you compare the investments in digital and technology and the value that's been generated, and then compare the incremental value that's driven from putting an AI layer, inferencing layer on top of that digitized technology, it's generally an order of magnitude or more, the improvement of the value, the realized value you get. So yeah, autonomous is really important, but not just in terms of the value, but really underpinning health and safety and sustainability.
Yeah, I can see it could have a huge impact on health and safety. We'll just handle this question. Mohammed Rizwan has got a question. Could you give us an example of where computer vision is important in your products?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our Smart Eye solution, okay, this is based on computer vision. So what it's doing is it's an integrated solution. So it basically links into the existing CCTV cameras. Using computer vision is critical to us. And we see that growing as we're now looking at integrating AI with robotics. So we're now looking at, we're actually leveraging using drones and CCTV so that we can do inspections in remote locations, confined spaces, looking at corrosion, for example. Another product we have, does detection of corrosion and gives predictive analytics of that. So we can integrate that with computer vision so that the use cases are growing considerably.
Pretty vital then.
Indeed. And we're always looking for computer vision skills.
Generative AI. Where does generative AI fit in? Because it is the new favorite AI that we come to love in the last year or so. What are your plans for generative AI?
Do you imagine, first of all, through our own ecosystem as part of Group 42 and through all of the network in the Abu Dhabi ecosystem with TII, ATRC, you've got Falcon as an LLM, you've got various other solutions that have come out from Core 42. So we've already got access to a number of LLMs that are in use today, particularly around JACE and Arabic. But what we're now looking at doing is leveraging that generative AI focus. So if you can imagine, take an example of subsurface. Subsurface, you've got different types of engineers. They're all working in their own domains, but in many ways, they don't communicate because they almost talk different languages. So we're looking at leveraging generative AI now to physically take that data ingest and deliver value, enabling us to understand and accelerate the learnings between those verticals. So generative AI is very, very important for us going forward. We see it being used all the way now from the control room right the way through to the boardroom. And you hear us coin that expression, and it's actively being used. We're actively using AI in the control room with RoboWell because we're autonomously controlling those offshore sites and onshore locations from a safe environment onshore in the control room autonomously, all the way to the boardroom. So, we're looking at leveraging AI now across even the more corporate functions like HR and finance. So, yeah, AI is being deployed everywhere.
I have a question from Al Namari Mohammed. Thanks very much for your question. His question is, can you elaborate a bit more on how you're using AI at the edge? Is this developing AI to extend to the edge, or are you actually looking at devices that enable AI at the edge?
Good question. I'll touch on a couple of points I made earlier, Carrington. So again, take that smart eye solution. This is around leveraging edge compute. If you want to do real-time analytics of what's happening in a remote location on an offshore vessel, for example, or on a rig offshore or even onshore, if you're going to leverage cloud compute, you've got issues then of latency and bandwidth with regards to connectivity. So it's important to have that edge compute available and the connectivity to a command and control center in a local vicinity so that you can do the predictive analytics and send real-time messaging of situations proactively. So it's really important to have that edge compute integrated with the AI models at that location. So we can actually generate and build and leverage those AI models inside a physical camera at the edge now.
Dr. Chris, do you have any other comments you'd like to make or information you'd like to share?
The opportunity out there for AI is immense. We are literally scratching the surface. In terms of our future goals, it really is to become a leading AI champion in the energy sector globally and leveraging, what we've developed already, but leveraging partnerships. Partnerships are key to us in taking these solutions to this global industry and delivering commercial value to our customers.
Thanks so much for coming to talk to us today and for being on Thursday Deep Dive.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for taking the time, and thanks to the listeners that have hung out through the whole period.
I've been talking to Dr. Chris Cooper, CEO of Abu Dhabi-based AI company AIQ, about transforming the energy sector with AI systems. This Thursday Deep Dive is sponsored by On Demand, turbocharged AI product development and integration. If you're interested in finding out more about AIQ and its solutions, please do.
You've been listening to a recording of Middle East AI News Live for Thursday, August 8th, 2024, brought to you by Carrington Malin. Thanks for listening.